Shine on your light, oh, shine.
Come a long way, but we're not too sure where we've been. We've had success, and we've had good times, but remember this, being on this path of life for so long, I feel I've walked 1,000 miles. Sometimes strolled hand in hand with love. Everybody's been there. With danger on my mind, I will stand on the line of hope. And I knew I could make it. Once I knew the boundaries, I looked into the clouds and saw my face in the moonlight. Just then I realized what a fool I could be. Just 'cause I look so high, I don't have to see me. Finding a paradise wasn't easy, but still, there's a road going down the other side of this. Everybody! Forget where you're coming from. Pretend that it's all real. This will all be someone else's dream. This will be someone else's dream. Safe from the arms of disappointment for so long. I feel each day we've come too far. And yet each day seems to make much more. Sure it's good to be here. I understand the meaning now, I can't explain this feeling now. And it feels so unreal. I'd rather see the hand that reminds me of the stand that I made. The fact of reality. Forget where you're coming from. Pretend that it's all real. This will all be someone else's dream. This will be someone else's dream.
We've come so far, and we've reached so high.
And we looked each day and night in the eye.
And we're still so young, and we hope for more.
But remember this, oh, we're not invincible. No, we're not invincible. Oh, we're only people. See, we're only people. Hey, we're not invincible. No, we're not invincible. Okay, everybody, one last time. On to the end.
Forget where you're coming from. Pretend that it's all
sing. Oh, baby. No, never forget, no, no.
Radio 1's big weekend is coming to Dundee. Lewis Capaldi, Ray, Wet Leg, the 1975 and many more. Let us take you closer to the music. Radio 1's big weekend starts Friday 26th of May across the BBC.
2 games for your match of the day too tonight, as third welcomes second with Newcastle against Arsenal, plus West Ham against Manchester United. There's also all of Saturday's goals and April's goal of the month with Danny Murphy and Jermaine Defoe. See you after the news.
Well, following the coronation concert, the news now with Reeta Chakrabarti in Windsor and Jane Hill in the studio.
Tonight, a touching tribute from a son to his father as the King and Queen issue a thank you to the nation. In a speech at a special concert in front of 20,000 people in the grounds of Windsor Castle, the Prince of Wales said his father has dedicated himself to serving others.
My father has always understood that people of all faiths, all backgrounds, and all communities deserve to be celebrated and supported. Pa, we are all so proud of you.
20,000 people enjoyed performances from stars such as Lionel Richie and Katy Perry. It's also been a great day if you like cake, with thousands baked for the street parties taking place across the UK.
And the other main stories here tonight. Senior Conservatives warn a change of direction is needed if the Prime Minister is to win back voters' trust after big losses in the local elections. And Celtic are crowned Scottish Premiership champions after victory at Hearts.
Good evening and welcome to Windsor Castle, where some 20,000 people have just been treated to a 90-minute musical spectacle. The King and Queen were in the audience, and earlier King Charles said that he was deeply touched by the support that he received during yesterday's service in London, as he thanked those who organised what he called a glorious occasion. Tonight, Prince William spoke about his father's life of service and how proud the Queen would have been of her son. Celebrations continued around the UK today with street parties everywhere. More on those in a moment. But first, our royal correspondent Nicholas Witchell reports on this evening's special concert.
From the intense formality of Westminster Abbey to the energy of the coronation concert on the east lawn of Windsor Castle, with an audience of 20,000, charity volunteers, NHS workers and guests chosen by public ballot. Watching from the royal box, the King and Queen, the Prince and Princess of Wales, Princess Charlotte and Prince George and other members of the family.
We've seen it all.
There was music from the Coronation Choir, 300 singers from many walks of life and different parts of the UK.
And palm to palm is Holy Palmer's kiss.
There was drama from Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, dance from the Royal Ballet, and humour from Miss Piggy.
Wait a second, Kermit, it's him! A lord! A real lord!
No, I just played one on television. Give me a bear with a marmalade habit anytime.
So adorable!
As dusk fell, Lionel Richie sang, and the Royal Box did its best to keep up. And then it was time to be a little more serious. Onto the stage came the Prince of Wales.
I want to say a few words about my father and why I believe this weekend is so important. But don't worry, unlike Lionel, I won't go on all night long. As my grandmother said when she was crowned, coronations are a declaration of our hopes for the future. And I know she's up there, fondly keeping an eye on us, and she'll be a very proud mother.
William talked about his father's 50 years of service, his work to protect the environment, to establish the Prince's trust.
And perhaps most importantly of all, my father has always understood that people of all faiths, all backgrounds, and all communities deserve to be celebrated and supported. Pa, we are all so proud of you. And I also want to express my pride and gratitude for the millions of people who serve in the forces, in classrooms, hospital wards, and local communities. I wish I could mention you all. Your service inspires us, and tonight we celebrate you too. I commit myself to serve you all, King, country, and Commonwealth. God save the King.
Rain keeps falling down.
There was a spectacular light show with a strong environmental theme. 1,000 drones over Windsor Castle and at 10 different locations around the United Kingdom. It was a celebration with a serious message of service, a theme which will continue tomorrow with the Big Help Out, when thousands of volunteers will give their time to help others. Nicholas Witchell, BBC News.
Well, many communities up and down the country took part in their own celebrations to mark the coronation today, with street parties and a community event called the Big Lunch. The Prince and Princess of Wales delighted crowds gathering here earlier with a surprise walkabout, as Nikki Fox reports.
In Northampton, onion bhajis and samosas were on the menu as the Indian community hosted a big lunch with everyone welcome.
People have come out to join in and celebrate this momentous occasion, and long live our king. Absolutely delighted. I am very much into the royal family. I don't apologize for it. And I'm just so happy that we've seen something which is once in a lifetime.
Dozens of people enjoyed homemade curries, pickles and pakoras, all shared by the different tables. Parents, grandparents and children all joined in on the fun.
Here in Northampton, it's all about people from different communities and faiths coming together to eat and enjoy each other's company. And it's this party atmosphere that's reflected across the rest of the country.
And in Windsor, people who turned up for their big lunch got a surprise visit from the Prince and Princess of Wales. William and Kate looked relaxed as they mingled with the crowds, though it was all a bit too much for one young royal fan. Well-wishers were delighted by the royal visit.
I asked them if they'd got wet, and they said that Kate said that she had got a bit wet, and the gowns that they were wearing were really heavy, so especially when they get wet they're really like towels. And then we offered William some of our Purple Rain, which is our gin cocktail, and he accepted, took a little cup and helped himself to it and tried some and liked it.
And in Swindon, Princess Anne joined a community street party, handing out commemorative tins to local youngsters. While in Surrey, the Duke and Duchess of Edinburgh joined Scouts and Guides for their celebrations. And Downing Street held its own street party, hosted by the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak.
Thank you for that. It was lovely to have you. Have you had a good weekend?
Community workers and youth groups were among the guests, along with Ukrainian families, and America's First Lady, Jill Biden, joined the party. And away from the capital, the sun was shining at Bude in Cornwall, and children were enjoying the coronation weekend. They gave the day a Cornish flavour by hosting a big cream tea, all delivered by paddleboard. It was a day for communities across England to celebrate the new king. Nikki Fox, BBC News.
From Anglesey to Enniskillen, the bunting has been out and the coronation cakes have been baked. In a moment, we'll see how people have been marking the occasion in Wales and in Northern Ireland. But first, our Scotland correspondent Lorna Gordon has been at a very special island celebration.
Westray in Orkney. Beautiful, remote, and one of the most northerly parts of the UK to host a party to mark the coronation. This a lunch to which not just a street, but the entire island was invited.
We've got a fantastic community. It's just a really, really good community that holds together whenever it's needed.
And you came dressed for the occasion?
Yes, I got the Union Jack and the tiara, and I wore it to church this morning as well.
This was a day for soup, sandwiches and conversation. And volunteers on this island, which is known as the Queen of the Isles, say they've been preparing a feast fit for a king.
Many hands, and everybody's been very willing and helpful. So a lot of our WRI ladies offered to bake, and that was just a sort of call out to say, can anybody bake? And
an island of bakers.
An island of bakers, yeah.
Scotland did have less street parties, but here on Westray, a community celebrated and memories were made.
A stereotypically rural Welsh start to the day. Tractors down the high street, on their way to the town's main field, where it's picnics and Prosecco all around.
There's a real sense of community here in the Vale of Glamorgan today, and there's more people here than there were in Cardiff Castle yesterday to watch the coronation live on the big screen. And of course, the weather may have something to do with that. It's much better today, but that sense of people coming together regardless of reason is also playing a big part.
Cheers. We just want to enjoy some sunshine. Now it's nearly summer, and now that COVID's over and we can all get together and celebrate, really. Not too much here to celebrate the coronation though.
It's fantastic to celebrate, King Charles going onto the throne, but at the same time, as a byproduct of that, having people come together, like I said, and celebrate is a really good thing.
The King of Rock and Roll signed off here before the main event started in London earlier this evening.
In one of the most westerly parts of the UK, some artisan bacon was on the menu in Northern Ireland. Local butcher Pat Doherty brought people together in County Fermanagh to try a local delicacy.
Well, a couple of years ago, Charles and Camilla did come to Fermanagh and they actually ate the Fermanagh black bacon.
Now it's cooked a special way, isn't it?
We wrap it up in rushes, we tie it up in the rushes, and we add sort of local mint that grows along the shore.
The reeds this bacon's cooked in come from right here in the loch, and Pat's been cooking today for a bunch of local young farmers, for some of the clubs that have come together.
We are quite rural here in Fermanagh, so when it is a big occasion like this, it's nice that we take the time out of really busy schedules.
Meanwhile, not all communities in Northern Ireland see the royal family as their monarchy, but there were many events today in mainly unionist areas where British traditions are enthusiastically observed. And street parties too brought communities together for the areas that chose to celebrate.
Lorna Gordon in Scotland, Thomas Morgan in Wales and Emma Vardy in Northern Ireland with that report. Well, that is it from me for the moment. I'll be back with more from Windsor a little later in the programme. But now it's back to Jane in the studio with the rest of the day's news. Jane.
Reeta, thank you very much. And yes, these are our other main stories tonight. The head of an anti-monarchy group who was arrested before a planned protest on Coronation Day has called the detention of him and dozens of others a direct attack on our democracy. Graham Smith, who was released after nearly 16 hours in police custody, said officers should hang their heads in shame. The Culture Secretary Lucy Fraser has backed the Metropolitan Police following criticism of the arrest of more than 60 people yesterday. Senior Conservatives have said a change of direction is needed if Rishi Sunak is to win back voters' trust in the wake of the party's heavy losses in this week's local elections in England. The warning comes as the leader of the Liberal Democrats, Sir Ed Davey, refused to rule out a coalition with Labour in the event of a hung parliament. After what he called the Lib Dems' best results in decades, he said his focus was on defeating more Conservative MPs. Labour insist they are on course for a general election victory. Our political correspondent Ian Watson has this report.
The bunting was out in Downing Street, but politically at least there was little for the Prime Minister to celebrate. His party lost more than 1,000 seats in the council elections in England, but his ministers say he just needs time to turn his promises into reality.
When people see us delivering, then we will regain the trust in the British people.
But some of her colleagues say a change of direction is now needed. One former cabinet minister told me voters were sullen and fed up, and the Prime Minister had to stop penalising people with high taxes and high interest rates. Another said that while there was no threat to Rishi Sunak's position, he needed to develop a vision. Labour claim they've made enough progress in battleground seats to be on course for a general election victory, though some elections experts are sceptical. There's a reason why Labour politicians are so insistent that they can win outright here at Westminster. That's because they don't want talk of pacts, deals, coalitions to crowd out their message at the next general election. But it would seem the Liberal Democrats aren't entirely on the same page. Are you ready? Asked whether he'd give a deal with Rishi Sunak the time of day, he was unequivocal.
No, I spent all my life fighting the Conservatives.
But he didn't give the same answer when asked about a possible coalition with Labour.
That is a hypothetical question because we don't know what's going to happen after.
It's a very real political question.
Well, we don't know what's going to happen after the next election.
Labour suggested that by defeating more Conservative MPs, the Lib Dems could help Keir Starmer into government, but not in government.
A Lib Dem recovery in those areas isn't somehow a risk to a Labour majority, it is a path to a Labour majority.
If Rishi Sunak wants to stay in number 10, even some in his own party say he may have to change his political focus. Ian Watson, BBC News, Westminster.
President Biden has described as senseless a shooting that left 8 people dead at a shopping centre in Texas. Eyewitnesses described a man opening fire apparently indiscriminately at shoppers in a suburb of Dallas. The victims were aged between 5 and 51. The gunman was shot dead by police at the scene. The head of the Russian mercenary group Wagner has said he has been promised more weapons and ammunition for his forces in the Ukrainian city of Bakhmut. Yevgeny Prigozhin had threatened to pull out of Bakhmut because his troops weren't being properly supplied by Moscow. The effort to seize the city has been the longest battle in the war. Now let's take a look at the day's sports news. Over to Sarah Mulkerrins at the BBC Sports Centre.
Thank you very much, Jane. Good evening. Celtic boss Ange Postecoglou has hailed his squad for reaching a ridiculous standard as they won a second successive Scottish Premiership title. A 2-0 victory at Hearts wrapped up a 53rd league crown overall, and they can complete the treble if they win the Scottish Cup final next month. Chris McLaughlin has this report.
They had come for a party knowing it was a case of when and not if. Rarely has their side not lived up to expectation. Today was to be no different. VAR helped. Did Cochrane deny Maeda an obvious goal-scoring opportunity? After a look at the monitor, Hearts, after a feisty first half, down to 10. They were almost down a manager too. Thankfully, Stephen Naismith saw the funny side when Jota came sliding. And the man who broke the deadlock, Who else? Kyogo. 30th goal of the season, and fitting that he should be the man to get the party started. The title was confirmed 10 minutes before the end. Oh, the scorer. Oh, what a season for Celtic. An 11th title in 12 years. The League Cup secured and the Scottish Cup final to come. Celtic's unwavering dominance of Scottish football continues. Chris McLaughlin, BBC News.
Match of the day 2 follows the news, so if you don't want to know the Premier League scores, then look away now. Arsenal have kept the title race alive after they beat Newcastle 2-0 at St James's Park. They moved to within a point of leaders Manchester City, who have a game in hand thanks to a first-half strike from captain Martin Odegaard and a Fabian Schär own goal. Newcastle in third are pushing for a Champions League spot next season. Manchester United could have moved above Newcastle if they won today against West Ham, but Said Benrahma scored a huge goal for the Hammers, who are now 7 points clear off the relegation zone after a 1-0 win. In the Women's Super League, Manchester United have kept up their title push with a victory over Tottenham. They are 4 points clear at the top of the table after a 3-0 victory at Lee Sports Village. England's Alessia Russo scoring their second goal of the day. And Chelsea are up to second after a thumping 7-0 win over Everton, with Pernilla Harder scoring 2 of the goals. They are 4 points behind United but have 2 games in hand. And in the last half hour, Red Bull's Max Verstappen has won Formula One's Miami Grand Prix. The world champion started from 9th on the grid but worked his way through the field to claim the win ahead of teammate Sergio Perez. Mercedes' George Russell finished 4th with Lewis Hamilton in 6th. There is more on the BBC Sport website, including news of Andy Murray's first title in 4 years. He beat Tommy Paul in an ATP Challenger event in France. But that is the sport for me for now.
Thanks so much, Sarah. Thank you. That takes us to a look at the weather prospects. Chris Fawkes is here. Hello.
Hi Jane, looking for a word to describe the coronation weather this weekend. I suppose in politeness I'd say it's been a bit mixed, hasn't it? Saturday we had the rain in London, not very heavy, only 5 millimetres of rain fell, but boy did it hang around, lasting for about 9 hours. Today, much brighter, drier, more sunshine and the warmest day of the year so far, 21.3 degrees Celsius recorded in Sheffield. How does that compare to previous years? Well, at this time of year in previous years, more often we've seen temperatures up to 25, 26 degrees, even 29 back in 2018. So 21, nothing special for me. And talking about nothing special, look at this stripe of cloud wriggling and writhing out into the Atlantic. That's our next band of rain that's going to come through overnight tonight and into tomorrow as well, which of course many of us are bank holiday. So, overnight we'll get the rain across Northern Ireland, pushing into Scotland, Wales, Western England. It's a mild night, temperatures about 10 to 12 degrees Celsius. And although we start off probably with a bit of early morning sunshine across East Anglia and South East England, it's not going to last because this band of rain is going to be pushing eastwards. It'll come along in heavy pulses, maybe a bit of thunder mixed in. And even as it clears in the north and west for Northern Ireland, Scotland, the northwest of both England and Wales, you might see a bit of sunshine, but there'll be showers, and those showers, particularly for Northern Ireland and West Scotland, will turn heavy with some thunder around as well. Doesn't get a whole lot better really into Tuesday, the threat of a bit of rain across the far southeast of England, but otherwise it's a day of sunshine and showers. This time for Northern Ireland, for Wales and southern counties of England, the showers will be heavy with some hail and thunder. And those temperatures still struggling really, highs of 18, 19 degrees. It'll feel okay in the May sunshine, but it's not as warm as it might be. Now, over the next few days, it does stay on the unsettled side. You might see something just a little bit drier for a day on Friday. Jane.
All right, Chris, thank you very much. And now, on the day of the coronation concert, let's return to Reeta at Windsor.
Jane, thank you. Let's have a final word this evening with our royal correspondent, Sarah Campbell. Sarah, a momentous weekend. This, just sum it up for us.
Yeah, so yesterday we had the pomp, the majesty, a tradition dating back 1,000 years for the coronation. And then this evening, in this wonderful backdrop of Windsor Castle, I was in there, saw the King and Queen on their feet, dancing around, the flashing bracelets going, surrounded by their family. So different. And this personal, very affectionate message from William, because this time last year, the country was preparing for the platinum platinum jubilee of the late Queen, and he referenced his grandmother when he said that, "I know she's up there fondly keeping an eye on us. She would be a proud mother." So this has been a momentous weekend of celebration for the King and Queen, but they must know that challenges remain. How do you make an institution that's so steeped in tradition, so steeped in the past, how do you make it relevant to the next generation? It's not easy, as Lionel Richie wouldn't say.
Sarah, thank you very much. Our royal correspondent Sarah Campbell there. Well, that is it for now. In a moment, we'll have the news where you are, but we'll leave you with these images of another day of coronation celebrations. From all of us here, have a very good evening. Good night.
God save the King.
Hello and welcome to East Midlands Today. I'm Nicola Gilroy. Communities have come together today across the East Midlands to continue the celebrations of the first coronation in 70 years. People have marked the crowning moment of King Charles III with street parties, lunches and a duck race. Rob Sissons has the details.
A band, bunting and bubbly. A party in the park in Mansfield after all the pomp and pageantry and ceremonial splendour of the coronation.
It's absolutely fantastic. I mean, we had the formal occasion yesterday, but today's the day to come out and celebrate. And Mansfield really knows how to celebrate and they love an occasion.
The weather's nice, so we're having a great time.
Probably won't see another coronation in my lifetime, and I'm really pleased to see the turnout today. It's fantastic.
Some came to Berry Hill from way beyond Mansfield. Mike's on holiday from America.
I come over and the coronation was awesome. It's something we don't have in the States.
No worries about the weather inside Derby Cathedral, where they took part in the nationwide big lunch.
We're seeing people from all different backgrounds, all parts of the city, all parts of the county of Derbyshire gather here at Derby Cathedral. So it's a real focal point, we hope, for celebrating and marking the coronation.
More than 200 people turned up for a special coronation tea at South Wigston in Leicestershire. And in Colston Bassett, there was a duck race to bring people together for the coronation weekend and raise money for a good cause.
We need to re-roof, retile part of the village hall, and we need money. We have got a grant, but we need extra money.
Well, here at Berry Hill Park, they're really pleased with the turnout, really pleased with the weather, and hope this will be the start of a new era for Berry Hill with more big events in the future. Rob Sissons, BBC East Midlands Today, Mansfield.
In other news, Nottinghamshire police were investigating after a woman in her 60s fell off her mobility scooter and died. She was riding along Alfreton Road in Sutton in Ashfield shortly before 11 on Friday morning when she fell into the road near the junction with Willowbridge Lane and suffered a head injury. Anyone with information or dashcam footage is being asked to contact police. On to football, and there was heartbreak for Derby County today. They missed out on a place in the League One playoffs in the final game of the season. The Rams lost 1-0 against Sheffield Wednesday. But it's a trip to Wembley for Notts County after they nicked a win against Boreham Wood. Charlie Slater was there.
Notts County were 2-0 down at half-time, and Meadow Lane, which was so loud and so vibrant, suddenly fell silent. But a second half for the ages saw Notts County book their place at Wembley Stadium for the playoff final next week. Aidan Baldwin with a goal immediately after the restart, and then yet more heroics right at the end in the 97th minute. Another Baldwin goal to make it 2-2 and to send this game to extra.